Hello. Hello, I'm calling from Zagreb, from Croatia.
Ah, yes. Well, your timing is perfect in having gotten the connection to us. We have heard from Regina and Leary and Maria, and so maybe you could, Gordana, give us a little bit about your bio and background, and then your current role in the Council of Europe.
I am a psychologist and psychotherapist, and I'm director of a Child Protection Center in Zagreb. This center is working as a specialized institution with traumatized children, including the sexually abused children. And we have multidisciplinary teams with psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, pediatricians, special educators, nurses, and legal advisors. So that's a multidisciplinary approach for which we think that it is the best way of protecting sexually abused children.
Yeah.
And what I had a lecture at the Council of Europe at Rome. I had a lecture on coordination between professionals. It's a very important part of protecting sexually abused children. And I also presented our work of our multidisciplinary team, which was recognized as a good way of protecting children and also a good way of prevention of sexual abuse.
And how is it that it leads to the prevention? I'm not sure that I understand the connection between the multidisciplinary team and the prevention side. Help me understand that.
Yeah, we are not doing just diagnostic and therapeutic work with sexually abused children and their parents, but center activities include also research on child abuse and neglect, training other professionals from police, from social services, judges, nurses, doctors. We also are doing publishing of different books, leaflets for parents, for children, for professionals, and a lot of public actions. So we think that prevention is very, very important part of our work.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize it included the prevention piece, and that is great. And I think it's great to have it all under, one roof and one organization as well. So, if we start to kind of look at, practice versus policy, I mean, how is it that, the NGOs as well as the government organizations, significant changes in the law and child protection policies in Croatia, I mean, how does that kind of all play together?
We think that coordination and cooperation between NGOs and governmental organizations are the key of child protection. 15 years ago in Croatia, actually this was an unspoken topic. And we established a non-governmental organization, Brave Phone. It is helpline for abused children. It had a strong impact on public awareness. We trained through NGO, professionals, parents, children, and media. We did some researches, and results showed that every fourth girl and every sixth boy experienced some form of sexual abuse before age of 14, which was very similar to other developed countries. Increased public awareness and the growing number of reports of abuse, as well as survey results, then have produced the effects, let's say, blowing the lid off the issue in Croatia. And it was clear that the problem of abuse and child mental health care has outgrown the capacities of that existing system. So at the end of the year 2002, a Child Protection Center in Zagreb was created as this specialized institution that works with traumatized children, including sexually abused children. So this is the only center in Croatia which is dealing with only with traumatized children, And we have a lot of children, not just from our country, some children are also coming from other countries that are speaking similar language.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so you're willing to support them as well.
Of course, that's our aim.
So let me clarify, and we were talking a little bit about this with Maria, and I want to take it a step further. We were talking about, the approach of the whole multidisciplinary approach and how, it's meant obviously to minimize the impact and re-victimization on the child. And, we have a similar concept here with our child advocacy centers in this multidisciplinary, child-friendly environment where they can, come and go through their interview and disclosure and all of the people who need questions answered, whether it's forensics or the district attorney, law enforcement, investigators, so forth. It all happens in one place at one time. But I wanted to clarify because I think that there's a key difference between your approach and what I see here, and that is I think that is an official testimony for you that is then admissible in court. Is that correct?
Well, we have the possibility to hold trials on the center's premises in child-friendly atmosphere so that children are not additionally traumatized in the court. So if here in Croatia, in Zagreb, a judge accepts such a trial procedure, the interview of the child victim in a separate room is conducted by the center's professional forensic evaluator, while all other interested parties, state attorney, defense lawyers, judge, defendant, are in another office connected by a video link. And according to our law, the child could be interviewed only 2 times. So if the child is interviewed in this way, the interview is recorded, everyone included gets the recording. Actually, the child doesn't have to go to this procedure at the court anymore. So it speeds up, or let's say facilitates the trial process, diminishes the trauma of facing the court for a sexually abused child, and actually helps the recovery process of the child.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. So that is a key difference because we have the similar setup of the multidisciplinary approach, but it's really only to gather the evidence as part of the investigation. But if the proceedings actually go to trial, the child does have to go into the courtroom and face their accused perpetrator. So
well, here in our center, it depends on the judge. If judge wants to come here, everything could be done here. If judge wants child at the court, child has to go to the court. So it's not obliged by the law. It depends on the judge.
Okay. Yeah. So what is it that that a sexually abused child needs during this process, during this time?
Or what they need, first of all, is that they need to be safe and protected from further abuse. Then they need also understanding, acceptance, and support, which will provide security and will decrease distrust in the child, because victims of sexual abuse need a safe environment in which they will not be flooded with overwhelming anxiety, which is very often there in a sexually abused child. Psychotherapy is very important because it enables the child to re-experience his experiences that he had dissociated, which was a mechanism of surviving. And what is also needed in therapy is consistent acceptance of the child as a worthwhile person, whose value does not depend on performing certain behaviors. And it teaches children to expect and look for relationships of appreciation without abuse. That's very important that through the relationship with the therapist, the child learns that he can rely on other people outside the therapy and look for help and support from other people. So I think that it is very, very important to give child support, that child can live again as a child, not to have on his back feeling of guilt, feeling of shame, feeling of responsibility for what had happened.
Right, right. Gordana, we just have a couple of minutes left, but I'm curious how kind of what the non-offending parents need and how this process supports them as well. If you could just share that with us maybe in the next 2 minutes or so, that would be great.
It's a very important part of therapy to work with also non-offensive parents, not just with the child, because non-offensive parent really can have a lot of guilt, a lot of self-blaming, PTSD symptoms. He can be confused, anxious. He can also blame the child, or sometimes behave overprotecting or over-permitting towards the child. So it's very, very important to know that parents' emotional reaction to trauma is the strongest predictor of treatment outcome. So parents need support and understanding, and also they need some psychoeducation, the same as the child needs. So we have to explore what parents knows about the traumatic event. We have to normalize child's and parents' response to the traumatic event. We have to provide general information about the event, frequency, who experiences it, what causes it. And also we have to give information to parents about common emotional and behavioral response to the event. So it's very, very important to help a parent to manage his trauma or her trauma, and give them management strategies for current symptoms to reduce his manifestation of stress, and to understand the child and accept his reactions and his behavior.
Yeah, I love that, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about that because, as I'm sure you know, and that's why it's part of the process. The health of the non-offending parent is actually key to the successful healing of the child. So
yeah, that's the truth.
Tied together.